everybody, and welcome to episode number 202. We're going to be exploring some of the great new stuff that's coming in Cilium 1.19. So there's just a ton of stuff coming up in this release. I am joined today by the illustrious Mr. Christian, who is not muted anymore. I was like,
No,
is
yes. It is muted, but not muted anymore, yeah.
Christian and I have worked together both tangentially and in the same company for quite a few years. He has a great background in a variety of interesting systems. So it's awesome to have you both as part of the team and also here on the show.
No, awesome. Thank you. First time on, but as always, what is it? A first time, long time. So it's it's great to be on for sure.
First time presenter, long time listener, or
long time listener, first time caller, sort of thing. Yeah.
Awesome. So as usual, let's go ahead and kick off with the news. So if you hit Explore Archive, Christian.
Explore Archive. Is there a button that I'm not seeing? Yeah.
A button there on the bottom that says Explore Archive.
Come on. Okay, I'm
clicking. Is it not doing anything? Okay, well, that's a bug for us to report to
nice.
Mr. So
this goes nowhere, but this actually does go to LinkedIn. Look at that live issue. oh, it looks like we lost Duffie. So Duffie did say that he is at an airport. So so it looks like his internet cut off. Oh, looks like he's coming back on. Yeah, there we go. I figured we'd get like technical. There's two technical issues now.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
I was trying to remove that from the studio. I was trying to remove that from the stage so we could just kind of get going and go about our business. But yeah, I think if you do want to subscribe to the newsletter, you do get a copy of it. Unfortunately, it looks like there's a bug getting to it from the website at the moment, but we'll figure that out. We got a hello from Tony Norland. Thank you for joining us, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Anybody else out there? Feel free to say hello. Tell us where you're calling in from.
Right.
And then, Christian, if you could go to isovalent.com/events, that's another thing I like to cover during these episodes.
All right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
To give the rest of the audience some context, basically today I'm coming to you live from San Francisco International Airport, where I'm getting ready to go to Amsterdam for a week at Cisco Live. And so that'll be super exciting. There's lots of stuff coming up. And in fact, that's the very top thing at isovalent.com/events. If you're going to be there, definitely come by the AI readiness area. That's where I'll be, and I'll be doing lots of presentations around what we're working on. There are a number of really great presentations during the week. I'm working on a lab that's a security lab that presents isovalent and Hypershield and a bunch of really great stuff like that. We also have a couple of opportunities to meet us all in person, whether you are there as part of the show or just happen to be part of the community and are in the Amsterdam area or can get there pretty reasonably. Then you could definitely come and subscribe to our Hive Mind event. If you scroll down, Christian, you can see the Mingle right there, that Mingle button.
The Mingle button.
Guy the second one in. Yeah.
Oh, this guy right here.
Yeah, exactly. So anybody interested in coming to join us for an evening in Amsterdam, regardless of whether you're part of Cisco Live or just in Amsterdam as part of our community, definitely feel free to come join us at this event. It'll be great to see you there. And you'll have a great opportunity to meet and get to know several other people in the community, both probably more specifically the Cisco community than we typically see at some of our events like at KubeCon. So really great opportunity there. I hope that I get to see some folks there. It'll be great. All right, let me reorient my screen a little bit here.
Oh yeah.
That's what I want to do. Make it so that this is over here. All right. So the next thing we should probably do is go to isovalent.com. Sorry. Do you have the blog post already posted, or is it not yet?
No. The blog post is we'll post it by next week. So.
All right. So for now, let's go to github.com/Cilium/Cilium.
I always misspell Cilium. I always think there's two L's.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Exactly. So you can see that 119 is a huge release, and it has a lot of really great content in it. And our intention, Christian and I, what we're going to do today, is go through some of those changes and kind of give you some insight into what's happening. My goal with this part of the episode is to really kind of go through some of the stuff that we have in the upcoming blog post, where you'll get to read and experience media and content associated with these particular parts of the release. But for now, let's just kind of talk through them and give some insight into what's actually happening. One of the first ones I want to highlight in the release blog post preview is BPF host routing with IPsec, and you're going to find that with PR number 41997. And this is an interesting one because previously, if you had host routing turned on, then you couldn't enable IPsec at the same time. So this is BPF host routing, meaning that we will handle the routing of the packet between hosts entirely in eBPF. Yeah. And so
Nice.
when you enable BPF host routing, we kind of skip IP tables, we skip much of user space, and we handle all of that routing in BPF. And we basically just manipulate the packet however it needs to be manipulated, account for the packet, etc., and then we send it straight out the interface, bypassing a lot of the back and forth between IP tables and the TCP and the Linux IP stack. When we did that before, the way that would work is if you were to turn on IPsec, that would actually end up breaking Cilium. The traffic would no longer work, and that was actually to do with the way that that particular kind of combination of connections was designed. But now we can absolutely do that. It's been reworked to be able to support that functionality. So at this point, if you do have BPF post legacy routing to true and encryption type set to IPsec, things will work correctly. And from a networking perspective, this means that traffic stays in the eBPF forwarding plane with that while still being encrypted at layer 3, and BPF host routing avoids the traditional Linux routing and IP tables, as I already mentioned, which greatly reduces the latency because you're not going back and forth between user and kernel space a bunch of times. And there's also some other interesting fallouts, like the TCP CRR benchmarks are actually showing a 30% performance improvement with workloads that create many short-lived connections. So little gets and puts, like quick responses. And a big part of that performance improvement is actually going to be associated with the fact that it's just staying right there in the high level, which is super exciting.
Yeah, so not only does this like not like unbreak something, but you also get kind of like a performance boost, right? Because you're not going, up the stack, right, up and down the stack.
Exactly,
right? You're staying down there. That's really cool.
Yeah, if you think about it, when we're operating in the IP table side of things, we already have all of the context. When we're actually in both, honestly, but when we're operating in the eBPF model of things, we already have all of the context to handle everything that would be handled at a lower layer. And so, why take on the cost, right? Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like we can already do all of the decisions, and we can already make all of the routing enforcement decisions. All of that stuff already is in place. So it doesn't really make a ton of sense just to kind of go through the motions of passing it through the TCP stack when we could avoid that.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a bit about the multi-IPAM, the multi-pool IPAM stuff, or do you want me to keep going?
Go ahead and keep going on that, because once you start talking about it, it'll jog my memory. Because as I started making the blog, I went through, tested a bunch of stuff, and it's like mush in my head right now. So
totally, yeah, it's a lot. So
there was a lot in this feature, yeah.
Yeah. So multi-pool IPAM is the idea that you can actually create multiple pod IP pools, and that's been around for a few releases now. But what this change in 119 introduces is the idea to be able to actually, as part of the IP pool pod spec, as part of the IP pool spec, you can specify a pod selector. This is a way to just really easily, with a label on a pod, associate the IP address or associate a particular pod with a given IP pool. Now, this will all come in super handy as we move forward with a lot of the roadmap that we're designing. Things like being able to create kind of like a VPC-like experience in Cilium with some of the things that are coming. And when we do that, doing it having a model like this really allows us to kind of associate VMs or pods with a specific network pool or with a specific IP pool pretty easily. So that's pretty exciting stuff. I think that will greatly improve utilization of things, and it doesn't really change the pod spec. It just changes how we associate the pod with the pool. So it changes the pool's spec by setting a pod selector that will match for labels. And now whenever a pod shows up that has that set of matches, we will consider that IP pool for the IP address. Pretty neat. This also does something, it also does some work to ensure correctness and safety. The pod must match exactly one pool per IP family. Otherwise, allocation will fail, which means that if you were to, like, you know, mistakenly add like 2 different pools, if your labels were just a jumble and you ended up like giving your label and value to 2 different IP pools, it just won't allocate because it's not sure which one to go with.
Which is interesting because I see that as like good, right? Like like it should probably
exactly,
fail,
right?
right? Like it should probably fail. I don't want it to, like, you know, assign the wrong IP or get, like, you know, confused, right? Especially like in like, you know, when you're thinking about your network policies, right? Your CNPs, you really want to like get the right tool. So yeah, like it's good that it fails.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the the other part about this is that this release also adds multi-PAM iPool for environments in which IPsec encryption with native or direct routing is being used. So with this update, pods using secondary IP pools, which can now securely communicate using IPsec, even when there's no overlay present. This ensures that encrypted traffic is correctly routed to those pods in different pools without packet loss. So that means that folks can actually define multiple IP address pools, control which pods get which IPs, all while still using IPsec for the encryption or the traffic confidentiality. And Cilium automatically sets up the necessary encryption policies for all pools, so traffic from pools to non-default pools is handled correctly. This makes the multi-pool IPAM compatible with high-performance direct routing and IPsec, giving clusters both flexibility in IP assignment and security without sacrificing performance. That's a lot to think about, but it's more. I just wanted to highlight that this is more than just being able to associate IP addresses with IP addresses from pools to specific VMs or pods by label, but also that this is a part of kind of a larger rework of IPsec, being able to enable a lot more of the kind of built-in functionality of Cilium with when IPsec is enabled. In some of the earlier versions, a lot of the IPsec was a kind of a zero-sum game. Like you got encryption, yay, but some of the more advanced features like multi-pool and things like that just wouldn't work with it. But we're kind of fixing that up, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, it's really, really cool.
Anybody out there watching what's happening with Gateway API version 1.4.0 will be very happy to hear that in PR 41936, we are supporting Gateway API 1.4.0 and higher. It also introduces gRPC route as well as HTTP route. Cilium has supported gRPC as a load balancing technology for quite a long time. But exposing it to Gateway API was not quite there yet. So now at this point that is there, so that's pretty exciting. And a good new addition to the Gateway API stuff. Jumping into security stuff, I think there's another pretty exciting one, which is the support for Z-Tunnel. The Z-Tunnel is an interesting implementation because it's a bit different than the way that we have thought about handling like opportunistic encryption associated with components inside of your Kubernetes cluster than we have previously done. So this is like a service mesh style in identity and encryption model, but without a sidecar. And so what this does is it adds up. What this does as a Z-Tunnel integration is that it supports a transparent encryption model, which means that you're not required to configure it or manage it. Cilium will act as a control plane for Z-Tunnel and provide working discovery and certificate issuance, then enrolling workloads per namespace and transparently redirecting traffic to local zTunnel instance using IP tables in the pod network namespace. This is a beta feature today and is primarily aimed at early adopters who want to try out the ambient mesh style encryption with a clear understanding of gaps and trade-offs. So let's talk about those gaps and trade-offs real quick. I think it's an important thing to understand. You can, as part of like the Helm install of Cilium, you can enable encryption enabled true, and you can set the encryption type to zTunnel. That's how you would configure it. Before you do that, you have to create the zTunnel secrets, and there's a doc. It's in our docs.cilium.io to cover how to do that. But once the zTunnel is enabled, this is a really important point, and I want to make sure that we do that. Workloads only participate once you explicitly enroll the namespace that those pods are in, which can be achieved by setting a label on the namespace io.cilium/mtls-enabled equals true. And this means that pods inside of those namespaces that are enabled will then use zTunnel for transparent encryption. This isn't a per pod mechanism. This is a per namespace mechanism, and it will include any namespaces that you enable MTLS in. So really important point, fun to work on. Looks like we got some chat going on, which is always exciting. We have got a question here from the audience. Can we do port forward for service Cilium load balancer? That is an interesting question. I think, so port forward, the idea of port forward is that you would use kubectl effectively as a proxy to port forward a connection from a service or to a service hosted inside of Kubernetes, but you're using kubectl as the proxy layer. With Cilium, you can create a service of type of load balancer, and when you do create that service of type load balancer, then we actually end up using Envoy as the proxy, right? So when you announce an IP address associated with a load balancer, we will attract traffic to that IP address, leveraging BGP in many cases, and once the traffic terminates into the host, at that load balancer layer, we can actually forward that connection directly back, either just using eBPF, that's like a service-based load balancer, or Envoy if it's it's going to a gateway and being sent back to a route or that sort of thing. So, can we do a port forward for a service type load balancer? Not really how that would work, but because the proxy you'd be using would be the node or the Envoy proxy, or the Linux kernel and the Envoy proxy. But But if you wanted to actually access the service that is backing the load balancer, then you'd be able to do that with kubectl proxy. Or do a port forward, which is basically the same thing. All right, let's jump into the next one. Host firewall. Not sure how many host firewall users there are out there, but there's some pretty interesting stuff available there. You want to give an overview of this one, Christian?
Yeah. So there is.
Can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear me? Hello?
Christian, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, that's weird. I can't hear you.
Oh, maybe it's me. Hold on.
Do you have a hardware mute somewhere?
Test.
Still works. Hey, audience, can you hear me? Hey, Tony, can you hear me speaking? Okay,
yeah.
That's good.
Okay, just not me.
Right, there's something going on with your audio, mister.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going. The next one I wanted to cover, next feature I wanted to jump into was Host Firewall, as I mentioned, now supports an advanced policy capability that lets you define and enforce security intent for traffic entering and leaving your Kubernetes nodes. It's such a powerful control, but it also comes with practical reality in that not all node-level infrastructure looks like a TCP or UDP flow. Some common examples are like things like IGMP or VRRP, virtual routing protocol, which is widely used for virtual IP failovers for things like keep alive D. IGMP is used for multi-grass group membership, And these protocols all sit below the transport layer, so there is no concept of ports to match on, which is probably the most common way that we actually match on traffic. So before this change, the host firewall enforcement enabled VRP and IGP traffic would be treated as unknown protocol and dropped. In 1.19, we add a policy support for VRP and IGMP using the same policy language that you would already use today, but instead of introducing a new policy section, the existing two ports rules are extended so that you can also just match on VRP as a protocol. And so you would just enter like port 0 and protocol VRP, or port 0 and protocol IGMP, and that's actually how the host firewall would actually apply to that particular scenario. Can I hear you now?
Yep. Is it? Do you hear me now? No. No. Interesting.
You might look at the top of your browser, and on the left of the browser bar, there should be like a little thing that says whether it has access to your microphone, and the answer might be no. Or if you also select on the gear settings, then sometimes you can actually see the audio section, and you'll be able to understand what is being selected, which might be the wrong thing to be sending audio.
How does that work?
Jumping into ICMP information, this is pull request 41406. With this feature, Cilium can now be configured to send explicit ICMP destination unreachable responses when egress traffic is blocked by Cilium network policy, in hopes that this actually helps people understand what's happening. The document will be shared real soon. We're just kind of going through kind of a preview of some of the content that will be in that document. But if you follow isovalent.com/blogs, you're going to see the announcement, and you're going to be able to see it probably real soon here. I think as soon as we get Christian's audio back, we'll be able to understand exactly when.
Okay. 1 2 1 2. No, interesting.
So by setting things like a policy deny response, then you can actually have it so that the ICMP packet will send back a filtered response indicating that network policy is doing the work. That's pretty exciting. Another change that I think actually improves usability is a DNS-based policy. So in DNS policy, previous to this change, you could actually match on like a fully qualified domain name, www.google.com. Wait, you hear Christian, but not me?
Oh, is it backwards? I can hear you. You can't hear me. Okay. Can everyone? I can't see the chat, so unfortunately, if I ask if you can hear me, maybe not. Oh, you're upside down. There you go. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now you can hear me. Sweet. I can hear you. Yeah, absolutely.
Were you able to hear me before?
Yeah, I can hear you for sure.
No, I mean like when I was talking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I would hate to think that I had just spent all that time like presenting.
Yeah, I know. Explaining the ICMP destination unreachable. Yeah.
Like, come on. All right. So when is the release due to happen for this blog post?
Next week. So like Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah. So it just needs a little bit more polish, but there was a lot in this release. Good problem to have to cover.
Exactly. All right. So back to DNS-based policy improvements. So this introduces a ** dot prefix that can be used to describe not just root level, but subdomain level matches, which means that, say, the resource you're accessing is foo.bar.google.com, and you want to be able to provide access to anything .google.com, any amount of dots previous within the spec, which is an infinite number of
whatever subdomains you want.
Yeah. So with the ** or ** what that means is that you don't have to actually explicitly call out like star.subdomain.cilium.io. You can actually match on **, which will match every piece of traffic with that particular FQDN, including any subdomains that might be part of the description. This is a relatively new feature. It'll be an interesting one to see how often it's used, but what this allows us to do is kind of be a little bit more a little easier to match on things that include
and also
subdomains.
it's important to note it does not match the parent domain itself. You still have to explicitly like have like the parent domain. Like it's only for subdomains. That's a very very
Are
very
you saying that
niche. Yeah.
wouldn't match like just Cilium.io?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. Because it's not part of the Mac,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
right? But it would match like www and www.subdomain.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Interesting. That is a really good call out. I would have missed that. So that means that if it's a
Yeah.
parent domain, like let's see, if you think about the filter, right? The filter is ** dot, which
Dot. Yeah.
includes the dot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So if you wanted to match on both the root domain and any subsequent subdomains or host names associated with those subdomains, then you would be able to use this feature.
Yeah.
And you would also have to include match name root
Still,
domain,
yeah,
match
whatever the
name
root domain is. Yeah.
Cilium.io as well as all of the rest. That's a great
Yeah.
point. I would have missed that one. All right. Next, we have a feature that's called IP packet tracing. So do you still have the release notes up?
Yeah. So the you can pull them up there. Oops. ID packet.
Oh,
I don't know
you
how to
added
spell
to the
packet.
stage. There we go.
Yeah. Hubble trace. Yeah. So this one is that you can use you can install Cilium with the IP option 136, right, which is the stream identifier, right? So like the IP option 136 for those not familiar with that. That's like the stream identifier for IPv4. You can set it by like in the when you install it in the Helm template or when using Cilium install, you do you said BPF monitor trace option equals 136. So when you do that, you can trace via an ID, right? So then you can start tagging specific traffic, and you can actually do when you want to observe that traffic, you just do Hubble observe with that ID, and you can actually see that full trace, right? So you don't have to like dump it into like a log, something that looks for, or like you're like grepping through things or some sort of analyzer or anything like that. You can actually just see the packet tracing, which I think is really, really cool.
It's also neat that the trace ID actually persists through
Yep.
things like NAT, right? So if we're doing like, internal, if we're showing you the connection that moves through like our internal representation of NAT, right? Like say you're using Cilium to handle things like kube proxies mechanism, or you've done a kube proxy replacement in your Kubernetes cluster, right?
Yeah.
In that scenario, you could leverage a trace ID like this to understand the connection flow all the way through that NAT, which is wildly cool, in my opinion.
Which is really, really cool. Yeah, you literally end to end, right? Like even through the NAT that's happening.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Now, this next one is going to be complex. I imagine
Yes.
people are going to want to play with it, but we've had the ability to do Hubble export dynamic for a while now. But in this most recent release in PR 42011, we support the idea of flow log aggregation. One of the things that a lot of people talk about when it comes to like Cilium is that there's an incredible amount of value in the network events that are presented as part of the Hubble configuration, right? So having a good view of everything that's happening there is incredible. But for the most part, people almost always run into the fact that, man, that is a lot of data. Because like by default, it will actually emit an event every 5 seconds or on any state change. And sometimes what you really were looking for is some form of aggregation before you send all of these events up to a SIM or into storage. And so with this model,
you can actually enable aggregation. You can set an interval for aggregation. You can specify which fields will be represented in the aggregate and the field masks associated with that event. And you can also have an include filters mechanism, which would limit the referenceable pods or referenceable content that is being aggregated. So it's not just aggregation, it's also filtering. And it will result in an aggregated log that will greatly aggregate that. So instead of seeing an event for every egress flow, you would see an event that described how many egress flows there had been in the period of during the period of event aggregation interval, which will greatly reduce the amount of data being sent up, but doesn't necessarily have to reduce the fidelity of that data.
Yep.
Right? The things that you care about can still be included in the aggregate, which ensures that you still see that data. This also doesn't change the way that the data is presented from Cilium to the user space. All of that data is still present. What you're doing with this is you're basically you're creating an aggregate of the data, you're filtering that data, and then you could use that output file as the component that you send to your SIM, etc.
Yeah.
And that way you can reduce the cost of storing and looking at all of that data. Very cool. And then we had this one for a little bit, I think, but this one actually enables us in issue 43096 the ability to show only encrypted or only unencrypted flows. So this is a kind of a binary, easy to use mechanism for just kind of specifically identifying those things that you actually want to see, whether they are flowed or they're encrypted or not encrypted. So I think you could actually still see it in the events. Like if you were doing like Hubble Flow or Hubble Observe, you'd be able to see in the event itself that it was encrypted, but this way is actually allowing you to filter on that. All right. The next one up is, a change PMTUD for NetNS. Is that what that says?
Or the...
Oh, I was just looking at what you had clicked on.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
But yeah, the last one I wanted to cover, and then we can jump into what's actually happening there, is the Cilium Helm chart now supports OCI. So this will actually be, so instead of just being able to get all of the charts from helm.cilium.io, where normally you would go for the charts, the repo that you would add to your Helm repository list, etc. At this point, you'll be able to actually also use OCI for this. So you can, instead of saying https.helm.cilium.io, you could use OCI, quay.io/cilium/charts, and then the Cilium for the charts directory that is going to be hosted there. And then the charts themselves are actually ACI packages or OCI packages, where they will be pulled down in that way, as opposed to going the other way. Both mechanisms still work. There's currently no plan that I'm aware of for removing one mechanism or the other, but this allows for a little bit more flexible mechanism there. All right. Anything catch your eye in the release notes that you want to talk about?
None that we didn't already talk about. I really like the log aggregation aspect of it.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's actually really, really cool. I got to play around with it a little bit. Switching to see what like you said, like it's not only like aggregation but also filtering, right? Like it's like give me like specific things that you can export and then import into like whatever that you want to analyze. I think that was that's really, really cool. The tracing as well. I mean, we talked about that as well, but the tracing like you said, that because even persisting through NAS, I think that's really really cool. I always like to approach these things as like, how would I use these in production, and like in it's like I always like, well, how would I use this in production? Like my nerd brain starts going, I'm like, oh, this is really really cool. Like I could start really get deep into like the networking aspect of it. And also like heading towards more kind of like a VPC like type of functionality. I think like you mentioned, like we're pivoting towards more like that kind of functionality in like Kubernetes in general. I think that's really really cool to get that kind of like experience, right? Like familiar experience, right? Like people already using like stuff in the cloud, but like you also do that kind of experience as well. So but yeah, those are kind of the things that. And also, I'm a big fan of OCI, so like anything in OCI, I always think is cool. Always gets my thumbs up for me. So,
yeah, agreed. Yeah, I too am pretty impressed by the OCI piece. I thought, like it's been around for a while, and it's really neat to see it maturing into a lot more capability around what we're able to do with it. Because like in the previous versions of OCI, it was really only focused on things like containers, and now you see things like. And now you see things like, manifests like this, and OCI is also being used to host like the artifacts necessary to do signing or to validate signing. So like manifests and that sort of thing from that perspective. But yeah, it's come a long way.
Come a long way, and like a lot of more tools. Like as you see here, like I'm a big Argo fan, but like just like also just like in the GitOps community. Like Argo, even Flux or whatever you're using are like supporting OCI. Like you can actually validate like manifests, right? Like it's like, hey, can I actually deploy this, and have those things signed? I think OCI has come a very very long way. A lot of people doing a lot of cool things with it.
For sure. So cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch more in here. Everything from big TCP to tunneling, packetization, layer, path, MTU discovery. But it is a big call for a lot more people to use things like multi-iPool IPAM, which I think will be really great.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
We're moving to the Cilium.io v2 API, which will eventually remove. Actually, I guess it is in this release. Remove the Cilium BGP peering policy from the v1 API.
Yeah.
So that's a breaking change. That's an important one. So if you're using,
that I ran into that. Like I'm like, hey, why it's like, oh, deprecated API. I'm like, oh yeah, like that is a breaking change that we should probably call out.
And then obviously, when we get into Amsterdam, which is coming up, we will be doing a meet and greet there as well, including that Cilium Con, the Cilium Developer Summit. That's all coming up in March, just a few short weeks away.
I need to start getting
both of us
my
start
presentation together.
Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm like, well, I need to get my presentations. Oh, like, oh wow, I probably should start working on those pretty soon.
Exactly. So, lots of great stuff there. But yeah, I think got some great commits from other contributors outside of our internal sphere, which is awesome to see. And I think when we do the 120 release, we'll do another episode where we pull in some of the contributors that are contributing this code and kind of talk about their experience. But I can tell you already that, from my experience, both inside of our chat, which happens at slack.cilium.io, and also in the way that these issues are handled, is that it's a really welcoming community, and it's a really great bunch of folks to work with when you're trying to find a new area to contribute to, or if what you see is like some particular feature or capability that you just wish Cilium had a better support for. There's great flows for contributing to it, including a very robust CFP process where you can actually put up you can propose a new feature and get feedback on that new feature before deciding to jump in and like actually contribute the code or anything else like that, which is incredible because it really highlights, it really gives you, I think it really provides a lot of like safety in trying to figure out how you're going to add feature and capability to the project, because otherwise it may be like, you do all this work and you're like, actually the feature wasn't in line with the roadmap, or it wasn't in line with the project
Yeah,
goals,
yeah.
and it's hard.
Just in
But yeah, good
general, I
stuff
think
there.
yeah, just in general, like in communities in general, it's like after a while you learn like actually you need to submit a uh like a request or like an enhancement before like you like don't just start coding right away,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like
Get
yeah,
buy-in.
like be part of the yeah exactly, get buy-in, talk to people, and I think that's a really good a good way to do it at these conferences.
Exactly. It's wild to think that I've only been a part of Cilium for almost half of its life. I've only been associated with this project for about 5 years, and that's crazy. But Cilium has been around for 10 years.
Yeah,
You
crazy.
know, called out by Tony just moments ago. But yeah, we just had our 200th episode. If you haven't checked that out, you should definitely give that a review. It's awesome to see. It's awesome to think about everything that's changed in 10 years. Both just from the sheer volume of folks adopting and making use of eBPF out there in the community,
Yep.
to just where the project itself has gone, right? Like it's absolutely wild. Yeah, this is the 10. I guess this is the 10-year release, the
Yeah,
V1.19.0.
10 years. Wow. Decade.
Absolutely wild. Awesome. Well, I think that is a pretty good view of everything that's coming. And as I mentioned
Yeah.
before, if you have an opportunity to come by and see us, either in Amsterdam, well, I guess technically in
In Amsterdam
or
in Amsterdam. So you will be at Cisco. Yeah, you'll be at Cisco Live, but we'll both be at KubeCon in Amsterdam. So
That's right.
it's yeah. So but in Amsterdam, but if you don't catch us in Amsterdam, we'll be in Amsterdam again.
We'll be in Amsterdam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, even in the same, it's in the rye both times. It's like,
Oh, the boat. Oh, there you go.
yeah, just makes me laugh. So yeah. And then I'll be in New York next week, or the week after next, doing an EB Quest. And if you're in the New York area and you're interested in checking that out, definitely go to isovalent.com/events, and you're going to be able to see the event associated with the EB Quest. And then, Christian, do you want to talk about what is happening with this?
Yeah. So one of my colleagues, Nico, and a few others, but they were they wrote a book, Cilium Up and Running. I actually wrote a book, an up and running book, and I'll tell you that a lot of work goes into this. I saw a preview of this; it's fantastic.
Months of work. Yeah.
You get months of it. Like if you want a end to end Cilium book, this is it. It's coming out actually next week on February 18th. So go to civilian.com/book/Cilium Up and Running, and sign up to receive a copy. If you are in Amsterdam, I heard rumors.
Or Amsterdam.
Yeah, if you are in Amsterdam, I heard rumors that there will be physical copies.
That's right.
I heard rumors there'll be physical copies in KubeCon Amsterdam. So if you're in Amsterdam, stop by the booth. There may or may not be a physical copy. But if you can't make it and you still want it, sign up to get the book. You'll get a link. It's a courtesy of Isovalent. So you'll get that book. It's fantastic. I got an early copy. It's great.
Yeah, we're also, and we'll also be doing book signing while in Amsterdam, actually probably at KubeCon. But it's just an incredible opportunity to like meet some of the great folks behind the project. You really help connect with the people behind all the technology. Just come by, get a signature. I can't say enough about Nico. He's one of the fabulous humans on the earth. Like he's just he's a very kind, very like it's just an incredible.
We need more Nikos.
Human.
Very kind, very smart, good human. We need more Nikos for sure. If we can just clone him, that'd be great.
Completely agree. But yeah, I think that covers us. Unless you have anything else that you would like to share.
Nope. Sounds good. I'll be in Amsterdam, but KubeCon Amsterdam. But you can catch Duffie twice in Amsterdam.
That's right.
So yeah. So no, I think we're good.
I hope you all have the best weekend of your life. And I look forward to seeing you anywhere I might be able to see you. That includes you, Mr.
Yeah. I'll see you. I'll definitely see you in Amsterdam. Yeah.
All
right.
Take care, everybody.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.